Welcome to the 1990 series. My name is Amanda O'Shea, the Loving Life Coach from the Serendipity Experience. And I have with me today my friend Leonie Amond, who is today at Brimpton House in Somerset. How are you doing?
Hi, Amanda. Very well, thank you. It's so lovely to see you again.
Yeah,
I'm tucked up in the warmth of Brimpton House. It's built in the 1460s, so it's beautiful old stately home in the middle of lots of natural park, and we've got all the radiators going and all the fires going here today. There's an event going on this evening.
nice.
So yes, it's nice and cozy.
Oh, and will you be there for Christmas, Leonie?
I'm up with family in Oxfordshire for Christmas, and then looking forward to getting back out to the beach house in Spain and seeing everybody in the new year.
Oh, yeah. Well, we look forward to you coming back. Leonie, it's been, I don't know actually how long ago we met or even where we met. And I don't know that can you remember?
I can't remember exactly how we met, because you just sort of, like by osmosis, came into my life in Technicolor, can I say as well. That was the word I came up with earlier, is like Amanda arrived in Technicolor.
Oh, how funny. And there I am, I have my Technicolor coat on tonight. But
yeah.
I do know it was through, actually, as I'm just saying that, through Tom. Tom introduced that you
and Jane, yes.
Jane,
That's right.
and looking, I think, to do massage work many years ago. Many years ago.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then I remember your walks that you were doing in Javier and the Rounders and getting everybody together, and beautiful network of lovely people I've met in and around you and Javier, and it's been a wonderful experience.
It has been. There were fun days at the beach we used to do, and that was lovely. And you had your beach house then. We used to go down and visit you in Oliva in the beach house. And
that's right. And Serendipity hosted an event there as well with me. So that was a lovely memory that we shared.
Well, maybe more of them.
I think so. I think we're going to have to get our diaries together in the new year and book some more events in. I definitely want to create more of a sacred space to share, a sanctuary at the beach house to share with more people on a regular basis. I'm looking forward to that.
It's a beautiful spot. I love it down there. And actually, this talk, Guided by Nature.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a nice title, and obviously where the beach, where I know you from Spain, where we hang out down there at the beach, is just a beautiful spot. That where you are walking distance.
Yeah, it's about 22 kilometers of sort of sandy beaches. Everyone that lives on the Costa Blanca knows of it, but I'm sure that you've got people that watch that aren't all that familiar. That Javier is quite rocky, isn't it? And south of Javier is very rocky, coves, very pretty, but that bit just from Denia north all the way up to Valencia really is stunning sand dunes and long white virgin sandy beaches. So I'm very fortunate. I spent 2 years looking for the beach house up and down that bit of coastline, because I fell in love with the mountains first, and bought a barn up in the mountains with a view to setting up a retreat centre up there. And I just fell in love with the nature of the mountains, just in the Val de Gallinera, and behind Pago, when I first moved to Spain. And we were going to do sort of yoga retreats and archery and things up there. And all you could hear was the hum of bees, because there were lots of locals that had their beehives on plots of land nearby. But there was no residential dwellings for about 15 kilometers except for the barn, and you had eagles flying overhead, and it was just the most beautiful place. Anyway, for one reason or another, that became more of a family retreat place as opposed to a business retreat place, because I had a lot to do and learn and a lot of preparation for that place. So the beach house then became about, and that's been a really beautiful place to enjoy as well, because it has the sea views and the mountain views. And
magical.
Yeah, I've definitely find that whole peninsula of Spain, the nature there, and the presence of the mountains and the sea in such close proximity, such stunning scenery, and we've got all the orange groves as well, haven't we? It's just one of the most beautiful places that I've come across. I travelled around South America when I was 19 in my gap year, and I remember the second time I went back to South America, I stood at the top of the steps as they opened the airplane doors in Colombia, and the impact of the humidity and the smell and the scent of all the tropical plants and flowers sort of hit me, and I just kind of sighed and went, I'm home. But then when I had children, it was kind of like, I can't take them to Colombia. I'll take them to Spain, that'll be as good. And actually that peninsula around the Costa Blanca has just been the most beautiful place to bring up a family. And we just have, I've just met such an incredible network of amazing therapists and teachers and wellbeing professionals. It's a really, really special place. I really believe that. And I would love for more and more people to discover how beautiful a part of the country it is, and the energy that it has there in nature, and the amount of amazing wellbeing therapists that we've got there as well.
I think you're right. I think it's quite undervalued, actually, this little Costa Blanca area.
It's a bit of a hidden gem, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's the jewel,
yes,
sort of thing. So how lucky are we? We're very lucky that, well, I feel very lucky to live here. Very lucky we all sort of came across each other and found each other doing our own little thing, and we've brought that together. We've had really nice memories, lots of lovely lunches, and, like you said, days and mini retreats, if you like. Sort of.
Yes, absolutely.
So your interest in nature, I like the story that, you were quite young when you sort of, would you share that with us, that story about?
Yeah, of course, I'd love to. So I think, we have our life journey in it that has all these amazing chapters, doesn't it? But for me, I think from a very early age, and I think I was about 6 when I first recall having this sort of out-of-body experience. And I was sat in the school playground at a little Catholic school in the Cotswolds, against this huge oak tree that I used to sit against every day in my playtime. And all the other kids would play on the park things that were there, like tyres and climbing frames and things. And I'd always be slightly separated from them. I'd have my moments where I liked team stuff and being involved with other people, but I'm actually quite a sort of, I retreat into myself quite a lot. And I think that's because I am quite in touch with my spirit side and the energy side, and I love nature, and nature really connects me to my center and grounds me. So I'd sort of find this huge oak that was on the edge of the playground and sit against it most playtimes. And I was sort of doing that one day, and I was listening to all the volume of leaves talking to me above, and swaying, and the strength of the tree trunk against my back. My hands were on the roots and on the ground. And I remember just being aware of all of these sounds and subtleties that I was taking on board, and the sound of the children in the playground was kind of quite noisy to begin with. And then all of a sudden it became very dampened down and distant, as if it was disappearing into the distance, the sound of the children. And that's how I recall it later. And then all of a sudden I'm looking down at the children from above. And as I'm doing that, I can see these 2 twins that I was in the class with, 2 blonde twins, were on the climbing frame. And I remember kind of making an observation and thinking, oh, I can see, what a funny position to be seeing the twins from, like I'm above them. And the moment I had that thought, I was back in my body again against the tree. And this sort of dampening down effect of sound that I'd experienced whilst I'd sort of withdrawn from my body and my consciousness had moved above the children and gone back, it disappeared, and it was suddenly all noisy again. And I probably forgot about it and got about my day and went off and played with them. But I recalled it later in life, and it's just a very fond memory that I have. And from that has stemmed quite a lot of other interesting dives into those realms, really, of our sixth sense or the energy world, or so my parents and family have always called me a bit of a hippie anyway, and sort of teachers would always write in my reports, she's a daydreamer, she's always looking out the windows. And so I was sort of always kind of not really of this world anyway. I was always somewhere else in my head, maybe. And I think just as I got older, I started practicing yoga at 17, and became more in tune with my body and all of the senses, and meditating. And I looked into shamanism. I was sort of drawn to shamanism books and things that talked about the wisdom of nature and looking at nature to mirror back at ourselves what's going on in the world or what's going on within ourselves. And there's just been quite a number of experiences that I've had where connecting with nature has really supported me and nourished me, or brought me back and grounded me when I've been in less centered places, perhaps. But it's also just been a place of happy, like pure happiness. Like I'm the place I'm most happy is in nature. I love to climb to the top of a mountain and stand at the top and look at the views. And for me, that's just like the most beautiful thing you can do. The beach house, I can listen to the sea and the waves. And sometimes, depending on the direction of the wind, it sounds like the waves are dropping right outside the bedroom window. And just being aware of the sound of nature and the seasons is something that probably everybody is aware of. But I think when you just take it that little bit step further and you allow nature to communicate with you, and you sit with nature or you sit against the tree trunk, then it actually gives you a sense of peace and tranquility. And it's almost like nature assists you come back to a very beautiful place in yourself. So I find it very healing. And I always encourage people that are going through any kind of difficulties or crises or depressions or anxieties. And in my practice as a kinesiologist and as an energy healer, I often find myself sort of coming back to recommending that that's what people do. Go out and exercise, go out and breathe, go and look at nature, go and sit on a rock and be amongst nature. Because it will bring you peace and it will bring you to the now. And you work a lot with your work in being in the now, from what I understand. And I think because I'm quite an analytical person mentally, and from my degree it was all research and analysis, and I've always found it quite difficult. And I think when we did some one-to-one for a while, and you were trying to explain to me, you're probably getting frustrated with me because I was really finding I was analysing the whole time, but because of this and because of that, and it took me a while to get it from the mental point of view. But if I put myself in nature, it brings me back to the now. So that's my way of kind of doing that. Becoming present, really, when I'm not present.
It's great because as long as you find your own way, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, you found your own way. You knew it from age 6, just to go and hang out with a tree or whatever. And that does come, doesn't it? Tree huggers and seeing ourselves melt into the trees. And I mean, they're our teachers, a bit like the animals, a bit like the children. For some reason, we seem to think we were top of the gang or top of the chain or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember on another occasion I was guiding a group of 40 Mexican students over on their holidays. They were all about 16, 17 in Oxford as a tour guide and their teacher guide, and I had to take them to Windsor Castle with their Mexican teachers. And I had an hour's lunch break, maybe an hour and a half, while they went off around the castle with their teachers. And I sort of followed my nose, really, followed the road out of town and down to a river and across a field. And I I sort of saw this group of willow trees by the river. I thought, oh, it's a beautiful July sunny day. I thought, oh, to take my lunch break here. And I sat against this huge willow tree. And as I sat there, I sort of started to hear almost the spirit of the tree talking to me. And I looked around and I could see where the willow tree had its family. Like there were other willow trees that had grown up from its roots along that bank. And they were of different sizes, and there were little ones, and there was a mummy one. And I sort of sat and listened to them, and it was just another beautiful kind of connection. And and South America again kind of brought that to me as well. You're in the Andes and in the jungle, and nature over there is just sort of cartoon sized everything, flowers and avocados and fruits, and everything's just vibrant and beautiful. So it really nature shouts at you. You go to those places and it shouts at you, and you can't not hear it.
That's amazing. I've never had the opportunity to go to the jungle, but I will do. It's on my it's on my list to do. And you know, seeing that, the way in which I think everyone's looking in that direction again, aren't they? People are looking back to nature to teach us.
I think they really should do as well. You know, we are all on our gadgets so much, aren't we?
Yeah.
And children. And I think that's part of being back in the UK for me the last few years has been, you know, I've been in Spain for 16 years before I came back here. And at first I felt like a foreigner in my own country, but I was just in awe with English countryside again and the seasons. And it was just, I saw it in such a different way. I suddenly found England so beautiful again. And I had forgotten how beautiful it was and all the seasons, how beautiful they were. And I actually thought, whoa, weather's not that bad actually here. I mean, it's not getting nice now. It's getting pretty bad now. But generally, weather's okay. There's a lot of sunny, bright days and the nature does always look stunning. And I can't remember why I was saying that about England, but anyway, I've been here. I've mental health issues in England. The fact that everyone is working, you know, round the clock and, you know, such long hours and, you know, big corporations and, you know, it's, you know, as another colleague of ours, you know, I remember him saying about the rat race back in England. Oh, you're going back to the rat race. And, you know, after 2 years, I recognise that it does feel like that over here compared to our beautiful lifestyle in Spain that we have over there. And you know, our focus is very different in Spain, isn't it? We live outdoors a lot more, we're in contact with nature a lot more. We're appreciating the sun and the sea and the mountains and the blue skies. And over here the focus is people are on computers all day and they come home and they're drinking to relax. They don't have so much time for family and friends. And, you know, it has saddened me a lot to be here and see what the mental health situation is, really. And I think it's great what you're doing, Amanda, and the new program that you're looking at as well with children, the iHeart one as well. You know, it's just, where do you start? I actually have some days where I just go, where do you start? How can you help so many people that need help, you know? And half of them don't recognise that they need that support.
Energy's there, right? I mean, there seems to be at the moment, or I don't know, is that just because that's the world that I live in, that everybody's reaching out, everyone's doing things, and people are doing lots of these kind of talks and putting stuff out there. People are hearing stuff, but that's because that's the world I live in. It appears like, oh, everybody's waking up, you know, everybody's starting to talk about. But I think there's a big world out there that
that's what I've recognized coming back here. You know, we live in a goldfish bowl almost over there of as I said, very privileged, really, the amount of well-being people that we are connected to, who are, you know, working on their mental well-being all of the time because they're involved in that line of work. And so we you know, we tend to be positive and we tend to be working on ourselves and open to looking at all these different approaches and wanting to help other people. But you know, there's just such a huge community over here, and there does seem to be a lot of people, you know, they're over here, you know, a lot of them are going to their yoga or downloading meditation, and there is an openness to that, but they're still trying to fit in this into a very busy schedule. And the stress levels that I've seen and the ill health and the amount of people on antidepressives or with addictions over here, whether they're mild or major, is just astonishing. And I would just, I'd love that more of them came over to Spain, and because we have just this beautiful umbrella of people that we could just help so many people. We need to funnel them over. That was my plan, was to come over here and funnel them over.
Plan. I was staying here and you were going over there, and you've done so much for the community, Leonie. You know, you set up that first, the ARC group, or the ARC, you know, and you had a passion, didn't you? You wanted to bring everybody together and get it going. And you've done a couple of sort of platforms to try and help promote holistic health.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that it's the only way forward is if we come together as a community and try and help you know, we are a minority community, and the majority community is who needs the help. And I just think as a minority community, we have to come together in order to reach that majority, perhaps. I don't know. That was kind of my vision, I think.
You did, you know, you were always going, and the energy there, I'm sure they're so lucky to have you over there running this wonderful events and retreat house. And you know,
yeah, they've been doing lots of walking retreats. I've been doing the therapies and the food. But you know, and a lot of the people that I meet, it's all about their story. You know, you meet them and they're a lot of single people in their mid-50s, 60s, that you know, life has thrown them quite a few curveballs, and they're on retreat because they are wanting to try and discover where they are and how they can improve upon where they are, I suppose.
and people
But
will do that when they're ready, right? I mean,
yeah,
you know, you can't sort of crack the butterfly from the chrysalis. You know, it will just that is part of nature. That you know, we try and interfere sometimes. I think from a good place, like meaning it like well-hearted, but we, you know, and some of us do need a little kind of shake up or a nudge or whatever. But you know,
everyone's in their own process, aren't they?
people
I
will,
had to
yeah,
remind my son that recently. Everybody's in their own process, and you know, nobody's better or worse. You know, we can't be judgmental. It's just a question of respecting, you know, everybody's process and where they're at. And
yeah.
but it's hard to see people suffering and thinking, I've got all the answers. You know, I used to be a bit like you as well. I've got answers, I want to help you, but you know, you can't do that it so easily. It's a question of allowing them to do it for themselves, being a catalyst maybe where you can.
It's an innocence, isn't it, to want to share? It's really an innocence. And you know, just we mean well. Everybody, I think, that goes into that, whether you're a nurse or a doctor or, you know, therapist, look, them mean well. You know, they see they've got something that they want to share with the world. And so, you know, and we get taught whatever we're taught in our colleges, in our universities, in our study groups. And it's not until it occurs to us, like, oh, I don't know if that's really true, or I don't know if that's the way, if that makes sense to me. I don't know that you know, we somehow are by nature, again, because we are part of nature, guided back home, guided back to share this message of love. I mean, that's my word, I suppose, for nature is love. And we're all part of that. We are.
I know. And we're so in an age where it needs to be protected, doesn't it? I've been looking at you know, some of the funding for ecological projects and things, because the beach area in front of my house has been protected recently, and you know, that the birds that were there when I first arrived, they were endangered. They disappeared over time with the amount of tourism, and since it's been protected and people can't access that part of the beach and the beach bars aren't there, the birds are coming back. The tiny little, they've got a Spanish name, I can't remember, but they're tiny little black and white birds that run along the edge of the sea, and they nest in the dunes, and they're starting to come back, and some of the egrets that disappeared are starting to come back as well. And I just thought, do you know what, maybe I'll get involved with sort of local ecological protection as well. My daughter's been a great advocate for you know, protecting nature and what's going on in the world at the moment, and you know, she's teaching me a lot about that, and that's been a really interesting exchange that I've had with her since I've been back, spending more time with her. And you know, as much as helping people, I'm thinking we need to help the planet now. You know, what can we do for the planet? How can we grow awareness of protecting our beautiful planet as well? So that's my new passion when I come back to Spain.
Good for you. And I'm delighted to hear that your daughter is, you know, also has been stimulated in whatever way to do her bit. And you know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it? You know, you're a guiding, you know, guided by nature, but you know, you are one of those sort of pillars of the community who has been an absolute pleasure to.
Oh, thank you. Likewise, you shining star. I was thinking today about how we could trademark your smile.
Bless you.
It brings so much light to so many people, Amanda.
Oh, well, we're just doing our bit, you know. That's it, isn't it? We're doing what we've got, you know. So
Yeah.
it's like it's just, and when that comes, I mean, I'm so grateful for being in the understanding that I'm in, and in the way that my life's shaped out, because I have, you know, I've been able to smile from the heart and smile inside. You know, it's not just it's not just an, it's not just smiling because I think I should be happy, which I think there was a little bit of that years ago, you know, always been sort of a happy girl or a happy kid, but then thinking I needed to be happy all the
Yes.
time.
Yeah. But now finding it's true and coming from inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is your gift, you know, because that's very hard to maintain, you know, along the journey that is our lives.
It's funny, isn't it? Because when I don't smile, it feels weird for me. It's like my
Oh,
not, it's not set, you know, and so it is like it is just always there. I see it myself. It makes me laugh when I see it, you know. But I'm human, so I'm not always. If you spoke to my children, they might have a different story to tell
yeah.
you.
Let's not interview them yet, then.
Alice has been on actually.
Actually,
Yeah,
oh,
and
yeah.
Charlie's
Oh,
thinking about it if he's so busy. So we're just
yeah.
seeing he might pip in at the post. But
Oh,
Leonie,
fantastic.
thank you for being part of the 1990. Go and have a
Pleasure.
wonderful Christmas evening at your Christmas party, wherever you're going tonight. And
Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you very soon. I should be over early January, so I'll catch up with you then.
soon. Feliz Navidad.
Right. Feliz Navidad a todos.
Yeah. Adios.
Take care.
Thank you, my
Bye.
lovely. Bye bye, everybody.
Ciao,
Thank
ciao.
you. Be guided by nature.
Bye.